What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, you're talking sports with FG Nonsense. Today, we are back with our shooting guards. This time, um, last time we had recorded our point guards, and very interesting. So if you haven't seen that yet, make sure you go check that out. We ranked our guys from 1 to 10, and we gave some honorable mentions. We'll be doing the same thing this for today for our shooting guards. And you guys already know I have Corrupt on for the channel doing this with me. So introduce yourself to the people.
Well, correct. Like I said, just wanted to, I love the NBA. Me and MG have collaborated multiple times, mostly NBA stuff. And so here we are. Here we are. Here we are.
Yep. So we got the shooting guard position today.
What
This,
was that?
the
Want to repeat
shooting
that?
guard.
Oh,
Shooting
okay.
guard.
Shooting guards. Gotcha.
This is a really good position, man. Um, So I just want to let you all know, I don't know about Corrupts, but on my last video, because I didn't know where to put Jamal Murray because of the injury and everything like that, I didn't have him on the list. I'll be doing the same thing for Klay Thompson today. So
Yep.
just to let the people know, if you get mad, oh, why isn't Klay Thompson here? The uncertainty with the injuries and how he's going to come back. Because if we judge Klay Thompson based off what we've seen last of him, he's one of the best shooting guards in the league. But if we judge him off of the injury, then it's just hard to do it. So we're gonna go off of what we know right now, and that is the shooting guards that are currently healthy or expected to play this season. So, Corrupts, would you like to start us off with the honorable mention?
Yes. Another thing before we start this list, though,
Mm-hmm.
another guy that won't be here is Paul George, because one, unlike everybody else, he's 6'8", like 225, and two, Basketball Reference says he's a small. He lists him as a small forward. Now I know he plays shooting guard for the Clippers, but let's be honest, he's a small forward. All right,
Mm-hmm.
honorable mentions: Fred VanVleet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and Malik Beasley.
Wow.
Now Malik Beasley might be a little bit underrated. Honestly, he's on a Timberwolves team that is not good at all, but he damn near drops 20 a night on pretty decent efficiency, and he's a really good 3-point shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Fred VanVleet drops damn near 20 a night. Very good playmaker. Efficiently, not very good, but like I said, drops about 20 a night and a very good playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Who are your honorable mentions, Mr. Nas?
I have Karis LeVert and R.J. Barrett. Karis LeVert, one of the more underrated
Whoa,
guards we
whoa.
have here. He's a very versatile guard. He can score in a lot of different ways. The only thing that I have with him is the injury. That if he was more healthy, I feel like he could be on this list. And then R.J.
Yeah,
Barrett continues to get better. R.J. Barrett's becoming a better scorer. Still a little bit of inconsistencies there, but got a great mid-range shot, or not great, but he has a really good mid-range shot. He can drive and finish at the rim. He's a underrated playmaker. He does a lot of playmaking things over there for the Knicks. So R.J. Barrett's a really good guy, and he can defend the wing. So that's what we like about him. But Corrupts. Now let's get to the real deal. The top 10 shooting guards list. Let's start with
ooh.
number 10.
And number 10, I have Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert, so I love Karis LeVert, man.
Oh.
Karis LeVert, first off, is a very good 3-point shooter. Very good
Mm-hmm.
all around scorer, honestly. Decent playmaker. And Karis LeVert, I want to say, is very underrated in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Karis LeVert on a Nets team was the most consistent player. What, second or even maybe even more than Dinwiddie, honestly. Um,
Before Katie and Kyrie and all them got there.
yeah, before KD and Kyrie came. Before KD and
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie came. Like I'm talking about more like D'Lo Nets before even D'Lo.
Mm-hmm.
Karis LeVert's a very good shooting guard, man. Yeah, he's number 10, and I think he's better than somebody like Fred VanVleet because one, he's way more efficient than him and scores more points, and two, Fred VanVleet, I mean, not Fred VanVleet, sorry, Malik Beasley. First off, he scores more, and second off, Karis LeVert contributes to a playoff team. So I don't know. I really like Karis LeVert. I think he's just more talented too. I think
Mm-hmm.
he's held. I think him getting injuries kind of holds him back a little bit. I think he can.
Hmm.
I think he could be even higher. But that's my optimism. I look Chris LeVert at 10. MG,
All
who do
right.
you have?
At number 10, a lot of people, get confused about this guy's actual position, but I did a little bit of research and I looked at a lot of other shooting guard lists, and he was on there. So at number 10, I have Anthony Edwards, 6'4" shooting guard, and he is a young, dynamic player. This
Whoa!
this guy, Anthony
Really?
Edwards, he's a dynamic player, man. The dude, he can shoot the ball. Now, one thing about him, and he had a little problems in college, is that he can tend to, how do I say this? He does, shoot the ball a lot more than he's supposed to, but he's a good scorer. He can finish at the rim. We've seen that.
Wow.
We seen how he can embarrass some people. He can do that. He's a young highlight reel. I believe in the second half of the season, he averaged around like 24 points a game. I believe he averaged 19 overall on the season. Good scorer. He can get the efficiency up a little bit. He can improve his playmaking. He's a very underrated, not underrated defender, but he's a defender who can get the job done. Sometimes he is a little bit lazy on defense, but when he is playing defense, he does get the job done. And I just love the potential of this guy. And if he can get better, become more efficient, and become more of a number two to even number one option, he's going to be a great player for years to come, and he is my number 10 guy.
Number 9. Number one. Just real quick. Interesting
Mhm.
how you put Anthony Edwards, and that's and I don't hate that.
Mhm.
I'd probably put him as an honorable mention, but
Mhm.
I don't think he's proven as much as somebody like I'd say Karis LeVert. I like Karis LeVert a lot. Maybe I'm just a little bit more optimistic. I don't know.
Mhm.
Anthony Edwards does have a lot of potential, and honestly, I kind of I forgot about him a little bit. I forgot about him a little bit. Number 9 though, I have CJ McCollum.
Wow.
C CJ McCollum
Wow.
at number 9, and this is a stacked list, bro.
This is. No, this
when
is.
when I saw CJ McCollum at 9, I was like, really? And CJ McCollum's a very good scorer, very good
Mhm.
scorer. And sometimes he's showed up when Damian Lillard didn't show up in the playoffs. But ultimately, the reason why he's not higher on this list is because he's either everybody else is either the number one option and putting up similar stats to him,
Mhm.
or two is just more talented and better defensively.
Mhm.
But CJ McCollum's a very good scorer, and I think he's a tad bit underrated. Besides these
Okay.
playoffs, I think he's a tad bit underrated. He's been pretty disappointing though this playoffs. The last like when Damian Lillard just went
Mhm.
Dame mode, a little disappointing from him. But CJ McCollum is giving you 20 a night, and
Mhm.
he's a second option to a pretty good Blazers team in my opinion. So I think number 9.
At number 9, I have Collin Sexton, one of the most
Ooh,
underrated guards in the NBA. Listen, man, people need to stop sleeping
hey,
on him, man. He's a very, very great scorer. He can shoot the ball at a high level. He can drive and finish at the rim. The only issue I have with him is that he's a very, very small shooting guard, which is kind of concerning of him on the defensive side of the ball. And sometimes his teammates do complain about how he doesn't pass the ball. Sometimes he takes shots when he should have passed it. But other than that, this guy has a good skill set. He can shoot the three, shoot the mid range. He can finish at the rim, has solid handles as well. I just love what Collin Sexton's been doing. And he's in a similar situation as De'Aaron Fox, to where people don't watch them because they're on bad teams. He's on the Cavaliers. I mean, who watches the Cavaliers? So give me Collin Sexton at number 9.
now I totally agree with everything you just said. That's why he's number 8 for me. Collin Sexton. I I I just think that this year was so impressive, right?
Mhm.
First off, I think it's crazy that the team around him wants to get rid of him. Honestly, you seen those rumors
Right.
too? I think it's
Mhm.
crazy. Colin Sexton is a very good scorer. Very good scorer. He dropped 40 on the Nets. At, man, and Colin Sexton's number one option on the Cavs team. He's a little bit in De'Aaron Fox's situation where he puts up the stats, but he's on the Cavaliers, so he's not really well known. Colin
Mhm.
Sexton is really freaking good at basketball. He's number 8. Oh, why he's not higher is because one, literally everybody else on this list is putting up better stats or is more proven rather than Collin
Hmm.
Sexton. Well,
Uh,
I can't speak today.
well, see, I agree with you, and that's why my number 8 is CJ McCollum because he's proven a little bit more than Collin Sexton. CJ McCollum is a great offensive
Yeah,
player. He does have inconsistencies in the playoffs, which is concerning. But I mean, the guy, he's one of the best. He's probably one of the best shooters, pure 3-point shooters on this list. I mean, I know 3-point contests don't matter, but look how many 3-point contests he's made.
I guess.
Um, he's a great 3-point shooter, good mid range guy, has underrated ball handling skills. Not the best playmaker and defender, but he can definitely get the job done. But the thing about him, why he's number 8 and maybe not higher, is because he isn't the number one option. We don't know how he is the number one option. And you got some guys that's more skilled than him. But CJ McCollum, when you talk about a guy who can just score the basketball,
Yeah,
who's just a great pure shooter from the mid range and
yeah.
the 3-point line, you got a great shooter and a great scorer in CJ McCollum. So he is number 8.
See, that's why Colin Sexton is higher for me, honestly, is because he is the number one option on that team. And Colin Sexton is not really inconsistent like CJ McCollum is. And now you could say that's because Damian Lillard gets the ball a lot, yada yada yada, whatever. And you can see like, oh, Colin Sexton's not it's on a worse team, so therefore he's getting all of the whatever, all the possessions,
Touches. Hmm.
all the touches, all that kind of stuff. Bro, but Colin Sexton, he's consistent, giving you a 23 like a night. Efficient, he's pretty efficient too.
Hmm.
I just have to do it. Now, number 7. Now
Ooh.
this is a fall off from 8 to 7, in my opinion. I have number 7, Shay Gilgis Alexander.
Ooh, okay.
This man is the number one option on a young, not up and coming, just a young
Young.
Thunder team,
Yeah.
on a young and rebuilding Thunder team. But this man is insane. Putting up, dang, what was it, like 26, 27 points a game. And he's a good playmaker and he's efficient at it too. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is an underrated player and like De'Aaron Fox and Colin Sexton, a player that not a lot of people see or a lot of people acknowledge because he's on a Thunder team. Now, why is he higher than somebody like Colin Sexton or CJ McCollum? One, the stats he puts up is insane.
Hmm.
Insane. And number 2, I think I think that he's a better playmaker, and
Hmm.
he's of course the number one option on that Thunder team.
Hmm.
Honestly, I think he could easily be a number 2 on a championship contender, in my opinion. Easily, in my
Hmm.
opinion. SGA is for me number 7, and by the way, I could literally say what I just said. He's number 2 for literally every single one of these players, besides number 1. We'll get to
Hmm.
that.
All right. At number 7, I also have Mr. SGA, Shea Gilgis
Nice.
Alexander, and I mean, you pointed everything out. I mean, the guy's underrated. I mean, but one thing, and I believe I was watching something on Instagram, and they were just showing how dynamic of a scorer he was, and that's crazy. This guy has so many moves he can go to. The mid-range shot is nasty. He's one of the most efficient guys at driving and finishing to the rim at his position. He can shoot the three ball well, good playmaker, and he's a dog on the defensive side of the ball, man. The guy
Yes.
gives great effort and great intensity on defense. He's putting up good numbers on a horrible rebuilding team right now. And if he was on a better team, I mean, you've seen what he was able to do with Chris Paul when Chris Paul was there. I mean, leading that team. So imagine what he could do with like Bradley Beal. He had Russell Westbrook. Imagine if a guy like SGA had a Russell Westbrook next to him. Like it's so amazing what his skill set is and how underrated he is. The guy, honestly, if he played for a better team, like I said about De'Aaron Fox last video, he could be higher on this list if he just played for a better team and maybe people watched him more. Maybe even we could see how great he is. But SGA is number 7.
Number 6 for me is one of my favorite players in the NBA.
Oh, I know who this is.
Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown is one of the best two-way players in the league. Just straight up period. He's one of the best two-way players in the league. And before he got injured, he was putting up number 1 type of stats. Oh my gosh, he was putting up like I think it was like something like 26, 7, and it was crazy. And all NBA defense. Jaylen Brown is putting up the stats, is one of the best defenders in the league and perimeter defenders in the league. And man, Man, oh man. Jaylen Brown, proven to be very good in the playoffs multiple times and has shown up in a lot of big moments.
Hmm.
He honestly, I'm gonna be completely honest. Before he got injured, there were serious talks about him being in that MVP type of conversation. He was really freaking good for a short period of time in the beginning of this last season. Now, he's not the number one option, but he honestly could be on a team. Jason Tatum is his other is the number one option on that Celtics team. But bro, honestly, they're like 50-50, honestly, because Jaylen Brown is, of course, the best defender on that team.
Hmm.
Ooh, Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart.
But yeah, but but Jaylen Brown, I love his mentality. I love his defense. I love his scoring. Oh my gosh, he can score anywhere. He can score. He can finish nice. He's a low key good dunker, and of course, he shoots that three very nice,
Hmm.
efficient. Like I can't stress this enough. He's a freaking great defender. That is why Jaylen Brown is number 6, and it's crazy that Jaylen Brown's at number 6. Crazy, he's at number 6.
At number 6, I got Danny Green. Listen here, guys. No, at number 6, I also have Jaylen Brown.
Oh, now
Listen,
he's
bro.
copying me.
No,
Oh
come
my
on, dude.
god.
Come on. He read my list before this. But listen, when you talk about Jaylen Brown, you talk about one of the best two-way guys that's on this list right here. A guy who could defend the point, any guards or any small forwards in the league. I mean, the guy's just great defensively. He also has a great offensive ability. The guy, what he can do offensively, I feel like it gets overshadowed because he's playing next to Jason Tatum. He's a good shooter from the three, good mid-range shooter. He can good slasher. He can finish at the rim. A consistent free throw shooter as well. And that's what you want to see from him, man. That's what you want to see from a young player like Jaylen Brown. And if he wasn't next to Jason Tatum and being overshadowed by him, maybe he can show he is a number one option. Like some people would like to see out of him. But Jaylen Brown's an absolute killer on the offensive side of the ball. He can
Yeah.
lock you up on defense, and he is one of the best two-way players in the NBA.
All right. Number 5 for me
Mama,
is
you know it's
Zach
the squad.
Levine.
Just stop
Now,
running
Zach
and sit
Levine
down and be quiet.
can easily become higher on the list in my opinion, depending on what happens this NBA season. But
Mhm.
bro, he's number 5 because he's bro puts up 27 points per game on amazing efficiency, by the way, and usually on a bad Bulls team.
Mhm.
Now, I think that Zach Levine can do even better with these new additions like DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, yada yada, Vucevic,
Mhm.
and make a nice offseason with them. Zach Levine's gonna have a big year from me, and honestly, could even be higher this next season. Zach Levine's an amazing scorer. He's one of the best dunkers in the league, maybe the best dunker in the league, and his 3-point shot is like water. This guy is great. Now, why he's not higher is because these other guys have one just in my opinion, are better talents, or better put up better stats, or two,
Don't go to sleep.
actually have
All right, go
playoff
run that one.
experience,
Run
unlike
right there.
Zach Levine, and has shown up in the playoffs.
All right, go. All right. So at number 5, I also have Zachariah Levine of the Chicago Bulls. When you look at Zach Levine, he is an all-around great offensive player. The guy, he's made himself a great three-point shooter, has a good mid-range shot, and is one of the most athletic players in the NBA. The way he can dunk and finish at the rim at a high level is insane. I love his offensive skill set. The only problem I have with him is turnovers. I mean, he does turn over the ball a
Yeah,
ton, but the reason why he turned over the
defense.
ball, in my opinion, is because he's playing for a bad Bulls team and he gets double teamed so much. But now it's not going to happen. You added Lonzo Ball. You got Vucevic in the trade deadline. You got DeRozan. You got Alex Caruso. You got some good guys. Now Kobe White's not your second best scorer. Now you got other guys who can help play make. You got other guys who can play the big men well. You don't have a trash Laurie Markkinen as your third option. Like it's just a lot of great things happening around him that is gonna make him a better player. But man, Zach Levine at number 5, if he shows that he can be a number one option and take this Bulls team into the playoffs, I think that he can move up in this list. But right now, he's number 5.
All right, number 4 for me is Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal, what?
Okay, all
This
right, go ahead.
man,
Let me shut my door.
really? Oh my gosh! I can't believe this. And I swear, if you have who I think you have at this spot, I'm like, I have
Go
Bradley
ahead.
Beal
Go
because
ahead.
because he is the 30 point per game guy, giving you 30 points every single night, and he's doing it on a bad Cavaliers team. Wow, on a bad Wizards
Wizards
team,
team.
and made the playoffs, and he did pretty damn good too. This man carries the Wizards, absolutely carries them.
Hmm.
Why he's not higher is because, like I said, he doesn't have, in my opinion, doesn't have as much playoff experience or playoff success, in my opinion, as the other guys. And
Hmm.
there's other aspects of the guys' games above him that I like more than Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal
Hmm.
has needs to prove it to me a little bit, but at the same time, he's on a bad Wizards team. It's not, kind of the same thing with Zach LaVine.
Hmm.
Who do you have at number 4, Mister Not?
Number four, I have Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell, man, let's talk about it though. Let's talk about it because Donovan Mitchell is a very, very great scorer. He can score, he can shoot the ball well, has a decent mid range shot, and he also has underrated athleticism. He can drive, finish at the basket. I mean, honestly, the one thing I like about him the most is his athleticism and how he can climb the ladder, how he can dunk the ball, how he can do great things inside. He's a great 3-point shooter. Um, and it's just amazing what he can do. Defensively, he's also very underrated on that side too. Probably deserves more credit there. And I just love what Donovan Mitchell does. He had 50-point games in the playoffs before, and that's what you love to see out of your number one option. And I'm sorry, bro, but when you got to play with Rudy Gobert, who crumbled in the playoffs, Mike Conley was injured in the playoffs, and he still, with those two not being showing up, he still was able to put numbers up against the Clippers. It's just insane of what he can do. Elevates his game when it matters most. He has a great skill set, and that's why he is top five in the league at his position.
Number 3 for me is Devin Booker.
Okay.
And me and MD has had this conversation back and
So
forth all
much,
the
man.
time,
I
so
mean, I've
many
seen
times.
it.
Now, Devin Booker, why is he better than Bradley Beal, first of all? And some of these other guys, he made the finals in his first playoff run. Albeit it was with a very good top 5 point guard, Chris Paul.
Hmm.
But Devin Booker puts up the stats, a very good scorer all around. And I think, honestly, in this list, might be the best mid range shooter, honestly, in this
Might
list.
maybe.
He has this automatic, I think his left elbow shot,
Yeah.
and it's just making it every single time.
Hmm.
I do. He did have some off games, but for most part he is pretty consistent. I worry about his turnovers, and a little bit about his defense.
Hmm.
Devin Booker is amazing. Why I have other guys above him, I think are better is better than Devin Booker at certain skill sets, and
Hmm.
two, I think have one just way more talent and one more skill.
Okay. At number three, I also have Devin Booker here. Listen here, man.
Whoa, whoa!
Devin
Wait a
Booker
minute.
at number three. I mean, it's just insane to what this guy can do. This guy's a pretty much a 25-point per game scorer. Has gotten better
Wait.
almost every single year. He went from being a six man in college to being arguably the number one option on a championship team last year. He elevated his game in the playoffs in his first playoff run. He has a cold mid range shot, can shoot from the three. He can finish at the basket. Not as good as some guys on this list, but he's pretty good at that. And he has gotten so much better at playmaking. And you can say, well, Chris Paul helped him, but you got to admit he's gotten better at playmaking, especially when Chris Paul got injured for a little bit in the playoffs. He definitely stepped up in that department, and that's what you love Devin Booker for. The guy, when he's on, he's on. He's a pure scorer. Had a 70-point game at like the age of like 20. What he was like 21 when he scored. Had that 70-point game. The guy can just
Yeah.
light up the scoreboard from the mid range, from the three, and his playmaking ability has gotten better. And before Chris Paul got there, he was the leader of the Suns team, and he was pretty good at it. So Devin Booker is number three.
All right. Number 2 for me is Donovan Mitchell, and I have Donovan Mitchell higher than a lot of other people. And to
Hmm.
me, okay, why I have him higher than somebody like Devin Booker? One,
Hmm.
I think Donovan Mitchell is a better player just in general. He's
Hmm.
better athletically, finishing wise. He's a better player. He's better 3 point shooting wise, and he's a better defender. And I think he's had a worse team, especially this last year, than Devin Booker. Now, let's get to Bradley Beal. He's better than Bradley Beal in my opinion because because he gets the playoffs, and two, I feel like he elevates to his game two stats which are more better stats than what Bradley Beal gives.
Hmm.
When he gets to the playoffs, he elevates his team. He gets around this last playoffs, he had 33 points per game. Last year,
Hmm.
he had 35 points per game on really good efficiency, and he's one of the best 3-point shooters on this list. Better than Devin Booker. That's why Donovan Mitchell for me is number two.
I mean, the only thing I could say that's horrible about Donovan Mitchell sometimes is the efficiency, but he is a good player. At number two, I have Bradley Beal on this list. And listen here,
Wow.
man. If he
Wow.
was on a better team, he would definitely. It would be no question that he'd be number two. The guy averages 30 points a game on a horrible team, bro. John Wall was injured the last 2 years. Then he had Russell Westbrook. Okay, Russell Westbrook was solid, but it doesn't matter. Bradley Beal is the best player. He averaged 30 points per game, almost leading the lead in scoring this past season. I believe the season before led the league in scoring. The guy can shoot the mid range. He can shoot the three, finish at the basket. Underrated defender. He might be the best defender on the Wizards team because that Wizards team is horrible defensively. He might be the best defender on that team. I'm just being honest.
That's crazy.
And Bradley
That's
Beal,
crazy.
the
He
way
is. He is
the
too.
way that he plays, if he played for New York Knicks, a Miami Heat, a Lakers, a 76ers, I think that he would everybody would see where I'm coming from as him being the second best player. I think even though I'm a big Devin Booker fan, I think that he's better than Devin Booker. I think he's proved more throughout his career. I think he's better than Mitchell, LaVine, just everyone else on this list except for who I have at number one, obviously. But at number two man, Bradley Beal. Once he finally stops being loyal and goes and leaves Washington, he'll prove that he is the second best shooting guard in the league.
All right. So for me, Bradley Beal, he's pretty cool, but I just have to see that playoff. I just have to see him elevate his game in the playoffs. I have to see him in the playoffs do as good as these guys like Devin Booker and Donovan Mitchell. And who is at number one for me? James Harden. James Harden is easily number one. He's the most talented on this list, best 3-point shooter, and he's probably the best facilitator on this list.
Hmm.
James Harden is freaking amazing. Generational talent. Only question about him is playoffs. Honestly, sometimes he doesn't show up in the playoffs, but James Harden is easily the best talent, the best playmaker on this list, and I think the best scorer, maybe besides Bradley Beal.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's James Harden's easily number one.
Yeah, I mean, it's no debating that James Harden is number one on my list as well. He's the best at almost everything at shooting guards, except for defensively. I mean, he's the best 3-point shooter, has a one of the best step backs in the game. I mean, the way he can just go into that step back and drain a shot is amazing. He can finish at the rim as well. He can get his guys involved, averaging double-digit assists at certain points last season. Just being a great facilitator. And he actually is with his playmaking skills. He's actually a better teammate than people give him credit for. People say he's a bad teammate.
Yeah,
Yeah, his personality's not the best, but when it comes to on the court, he gets his guys involved. Oh, he gets his guys involved, and I mean, he's just insane of what he can do. Our 100% the best shooting guard on this list. I don't think it's no questioning. I think the gap from number one to number two in shooting guards is such a big gap. I mean, that might be the biggest gap of a
such a
lot of.
big guy.
I mean, it's a pretty good gap. It might be the biggest gap in a lot of positions from as far as coming from one to two. Like a lot of other lists, you have one for two, and they're closer. But
Yeah, yeah,
it's
I
from
agree.
one to two, where James Harden puts himself as far as shooting guards. I think he's the best on this
Yeah.
list.
So that was our list, guys. And oh man, I'm excited to go to our small forwards, power forwards, and centers.
Yes,
But
sir. Yes, sir.
man, thank you, MG, for having me for these two videos, and I cannot wait to